We are in the stretch run of today's program. It's been a quick moving week. 9:43. Bill Colley with you. On top story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com. 208 736 0300. 208 736 0300. Do you remember last week the commissioner of the National Football League said there was going to be a special league meeting and there might be a new rule coming, a clarification that players were going to stand on the sidelines during the national anthem. There would be no kneeling or there would be no sitting down or scratching their bottom while the national anthem was taking place. And it looked as if, and I have a story here that just explains how badly NFL ratings are suffering as all of this continues to unfold. Players behaving badly on the sidelines. So they had a meeting yesterday in New York City between some of the leaders from the Players Union, a handful of the owners, and as well as Roger Goodell, the league commissioner. And they had a discussion about this. So would it surprise you that they didn't even bring up, Goodell admitted later on, the national anthem and the demonstrations that are going on? So what was the point? Man, this guy needs to really grow a pair. Take a listen to his comments following the meeting.
I would tell you that our players are men of great character. They have a very deep understanding and tremendous knowledge of the issues that are going on in all of our communities. Today's discussion with our players was very productive and very important. It reflected, I think, our commitment to work together with our players on issues of social justice.
Okay. He said they have great character. His players have great character. Now, is he talking about the ones that beat their wives in elevators? Is he like referring to the old NFL defensive back Ray Caruth who had his pregnant girlfriend killed so he wouldn't have to support the child? Is he talking to a ball player who at Super Bowl week one year was with a group of people? He didn't do it himself, but somebody in his group shot somebody else dead, and then he obstructed justice by telling everyone else to say, I wasn't there. Is he talking about the players who end up with a multiple DUIs? And I'm just bringing this up because the players recently and coaches suspended because of cocaine use in the offices. What is he specifically mentioning when he says our players are a great moral character? I'm not quite sure I understand this. The list of NFL football players arrested just this century is nearly 1,000. We're not talking about out of a big sample either. You know, there's only 1,500 or so players in the league every year, and the turnover is usually complete within about 5 years of all of those players. Still, if you've had 1,000 arrests out of, I don't know, maybe in 15 years, 10,000 NFL players, seems to me that's a pretty high number. But to sit there and say, the other part of this, and it gets lost in all of it, is they keep saying, well, if you ask the players what they're demonstrating about, you get 100 different answers. But I'll be fair and say most of the answers are dealing with police relations with people of color, black people primarily. That's the argument they happen to be making. But even the Washington Post, now it's funny, you go to Pravda on the Potomac's webpage. If you go to the webpage, the argument is, or not the webpage, rather, the op-ed page. That's the word I'm thinking of, or words. You go to the op-ed page, and there's always these arguments from the liberal columnists there and the liberal editors that, oh, people are being mean to black football players and other blacks when it comes to policing. But the Post itself sent a reporter out a couple of years ago who did a story about this and discovered that not true. As a percentage, most of the people shot and killed by police officers on a yearly basis are Caucasian, that is, whitey. Those are the people generally shot dead. Now, you might turn around and say, well, that makes sense because, you know, blacks only constitute about 10% of the population and whitey, 50% maybe now and the number dropping, but 50%. So there's more of whitey, so more of whitey should be shot dead by police. But it really doesn't work that way. If you're trying to extrapolate by population numbers and just do a percentage, whites are still shot dead more frequently than black people by police. Did you know that? That's true. Secondly, and I think the other part of this you have to recognize is that even though blacks compromise, again, maybe it's 10% in that neighborhood. They're now a smaller part of the population block than even Hispanics are in this country. But that the number of crimes committed by black people in this country, and yes, it may have something to do with the neighborhoods they grow up with and the poverty and the despair and the lack of fathers in their lives, but the number of crimes they commit is disproportionately higher than whitey commits. So more white people are killed proportionally every year by police officers than black people, but black people proportionally are committing more crimes. Then what is the argument from the NFL football players about this? There's a story I happened to see that was posted online last night, and maybe I'll get a chance to talk with it about some of our local law enforcers over the next couple of weeks. A police department down in the Carolinas, I believe it was, Charlotte Mecklenburg. That's a combination of the local county and Charlotte, North Carolina Police Department. They brought reporters out, and they had reporters wrestle down. Well, the guys who are currently going through the academy played the role of bad guys. And the reporters were told, you've got to wrestle them down. But remember, you can't use excessive force. This is a great story. This tells you a little bit about what police officers are going through every day when they're on the job. And maybe it's an eye-opener for the media, because the reporters discovered, gee, it's not as easy as it looks on all of those TV shows I watch. And the writer, Sarah Taylor, she has this, and I'll read you a couple of lines. A reporter by the name of David Sentendree of Charlotte, North Carolina, he works for a TV station there. He was taking part in this exercise. He and other members of the media participating in the experiment had an extremely difficult time neutralizing unwilling detainees. In this case, the detainees were actually police recruits. What's more is that when Sentendree was outfitted with a weight belt similar to what the officers would have to carry while on duty, the task proved to be even more difficult. So the fact of the matter is, if people are also trying to resist and fight with them, and you don't know if they have firearms on them or knives or anything like that, it even complicates all of this more. And maybe it's finally a recognition among some of these so-called journalists that these people are not getting out of the bed thinking, oh boy, how many people of color can I kill today? Especially when so many of the new recruits are likely hired from black and Latino communities. We've got a caller with us, 10 minutes from 10 o'clock. It's 49, and caller, you're up next. You're on KLIX.
Did you know that the first person that kneeled down in Alphaville was a Green Beret football player? Just a little fact. Thank you.
When was that? Name me the guy. Hello. Did I know that? Who was it again? You just made an allegation or an accusation. Did he say Green Bay Packers or Green Beret, or would he know the difference? Well, no, it's not a soccer club from south of the border, so probably not. Did you know that? Did you know that? Tell me who it was. If your information's that strong, tell me who it was. Nope, just another drive-by call. Pow, 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 pow. I just rattled off a bunch of statistics a couple of minutes ago. You notice how well, I almost said reporters, but it's the same. Fellow travelers, liberals, other ne'er-do-wells, they all call in and they try to deflect and say something else. I just told you the Washington Post delved into all of these statistics. And the fact of the matter is, nobody out there is being singled out because of their background. It's not like I go speeding down I-84, and if I get pulled over, the trooper walks up and says, oh, hello, fellow whitey. Sorry about pulling you over. I didn't realize that you were a Caucasian. Move along now, move along. If I go knock over the neighborhood bank, I'm still going to be arrested. You got that? If I go down and I stand outside of Canyon Ridge High School and start peddling dope to the kids, it doesn't matter. Oh, well, it's a white guy. We'll have to let that go. That's not how it works. 9:52, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Caller, you're on the air. You're up next.
Hey, I stopped watching the NFL and all that a long time ago. I think NFL's basically shooting themselves in the foot like National Baseball League did when all their players went on strike. It's just gonna destroy them.
Well, thank you for the call. And Goodell is, like, I suppose, thinking he's doing the right thing according to all of his high-rise Manhattan elitist friends when he says, our morally strong players had a chat with me today about oppression in this world. But again, they never even brought up the national anthem. What the heck were you having the meeting for? Well, we wanted to share some bagels and coffee with them, and we've been wanting to do that for a very long time. The ratings are down for CBS, which covers, mainly it's AFC football, American Conference, in double digits this year. It's mainly smaller market teams, but teams in the heartland. So even if you're a fan of the Chiefs, who are 5-1, you're not likely tuning in because the Chiefs have been taking a knee. And in the middle part of this country, you find the most patriotic Americans. Over at Fox, which carries the NFC, which is primarily the large market teams, you're talking Chicago and New York. Well, they've got AFC franchises in those cities, big cities too. But overall, they have the bigger market teams. The ratings are down 7%, which is not pretty. But it's not nearly as bad as what's happening in middle America. Caller, you're on the air. You're up next on Top Story.
Well, a little bit ago, you were talking about black-on-black crime, which is rampant. In Chicago, they're killing each other. The blacks are killing each other at an alarming rate, and it's never brought up. But one thing that is brought up is how fires, mismanaged forests, are burning to the ground in these, democratic states. And I'm telling you, the devastation is so unbelievable. And how all they really want to do is try to blame it on global warming. But one thing they always do, they always make sure they let us know that this is how many people died in the fires today. But they never tell us how many black-on-black deaths occurred, or even just in Chicago alone. I'll hang up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you much for the call. How come NFL players aren't out organizing relief efforts for the fire victims? Because some of these people, you think your insurance company is going to come back and say, here's exactly the amount you need to rebuild, and tell you what, here's a little more for icing on the cake. It's not going to happen that way. And it's not going to happen anytime soon. The insurance companies are dealing with, right now, massive claims from Houston and from Florida and from Puerto Rico, and you're going to have them from California. And if you're in the insurance game internationally, you've got it now in Ireland and other places that were struck by a storm the other day. So how come these players aren't out organizing? Only a handful have. You had one defensive lineman with the Houston Texans who organized relief efforts. He's been hurt, by the way, since then. So he's been injured and he's not out on the playing field. That would be J.J. Watt. And you have the retired baseball player and conservative Christian Curt Schilling, who's been organizing relief efforts. By the way, none of those guys would ever take a knee during the national anthem. And the folks out there are trying to say, well, it's okay to do that because Hillary said so while she was in Europe. Yeah, Hillary's over there peeing all over the American flag while she's on her book tour. But the fact of the matter is, if the ratings continue to drop like this, to keep trying to tell people, well, it's not really disrespect. Have you noticed that the ratings are dropping and your argument that it's not really disrespect? Maybe it isn't to you because you hate your country so dang much and you're so in love with hanging on and giving a big hug and sweet kiss to whatever person you can drag here from some other part of the world who may in the long run want to kill all of us. Maybe you're so interested in that. You hate this about America. You hate that about America. You hate the military. You hate the flag. You hate the history. You hate your neighbor, whatever it be. The fact of the matter is, most Americans love that flag, love that anthem, and they know what they represent. And they represent men and women who shed their blood and gave the last full measure of devotion, not only for this country, but no greater love by laying down their lives for others. That's what it's all about. And these overpaid dang fools who go out and spend their time when they're not on the field carousing in nightclubs and knocking up every woman they meet, and they end up having 11 kids by 9 women and they don't support them after their careers are over with, and they're out there claiming the cops were mean to me. That lying SOB from Seattle, the defensive lineman who claims he was roughed up at the boxing match in Las Vegas a couple of months ago, well, the video came out of the whole thing. He's lying through his teeth. But you know what? The media didn't bother to follow up on that end of the story. All the media did was say, well, as typical, black man treated poorly by police in Las Vegas. The same police, by the way, who were running into the shots a couple of weeks ago at another despicable crime. But the fellow is a two-faced, bald-faced liar. And as soon as the video came out, the evidence that contradicted his story, all of a sudden the media folded its tents and said, I don't know what you're talking about. God willing, if the creek don't rise, I'll be back in this chair tomorrow morning between 8 and 10 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Following this program and following the news at 10 o'clock, it's the Rush Limbaugh Show. We have Sean Hannity at 1 o'clock today, Glenn Beck at 4, and Dave Ramsey from 7 until 10 o'clock tonight.